I was trying to find this blanket and I could not find it anywhere. I was like, where is it? I still have no words to describe what went on in this book. Girls, Anyways, hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It is hot in here, I'm not even gonna lie. For some reason today it's like 80 degrees outside and it's not the vibe. It's so gorgeous outside. I wish you could see my view right now. All of my trees are nice and orange and pretty, but it's smoking hot outside. And I don't know why. It's been 50 this entire week until right now. I should really be studying right now for my algebra class and my test that's coming up, but I really don't want to. So welcome to today's video. Today's video I'm gonna be doing my wrap-ups. I'm gonna be doing my wrap-ups for September and October. I wasn't going to do September. I don't know why. Like when I went to plan videos, for some reason it just slipped my mind to not do a wrap-up, and I think it was just because all of these books that I'm about to talk about were supposed to be in videos. The first two were in videos. The rest of them were supposed to be in a video, but I lost it, and we will talk about that. So without further ado, we're just gonna get right on into it, and we're gonna start with September. In September, I read 5 books. It honestly, the beginning of this month, I really thought I was gonna get nowhere. It started very bad. That last week when I went to North Carolina, I literally all I did was read on the beach, and it was the perfect time ever, so I got a bunch done. I read 4 romances. One was a paranormal romance, there we go, and then 1 fantasy. Let's get into it and let's talk about these wonderful books. It's so weird looking at all these books. It feels like another time that I finished them and read them. That was my thumbnail. Okay. Hopefully you see one of those. The first book that I read in September, which is A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. This was her newest release. It came out, oh my god, I literally had this date down and now I can't remember it. No, because it wasn't 9th, because it was before Dylan. Like July 7th? Anyways, this was my most anticipated release. I could not stop thinking about this and I was so excited about it. I did annotate it too, and I used my neon ones, like my neon tabs, and it actually goes with the book like so well because of the colors. This one kind of fell flat. I'm not gonna lie. I thought this book was cute. Very cozy. Honestly, this would have been a lovely read to read it in the fall time, and that's why I wanted to read it in September, because it was still in between like starting to become fall, but also it was still in the summertime, and this was just so cozy. There were so many just like family aspects, like how close she got with these characters. I was so sad by the ending when she had to say goodbye to them. That's not a spoiler, okay y'all? Like she obviously couldn't stay. Obviously it's not her hometown. The connections she made with the characters were so sweet. I just loved seeing her be able to like become best friends with them and to talk to them and to realize that their relationships weren't even perfect. Like they seemed perfect in the book, but outside, like in real life, like they were having issues and she helped them. I think that made her realize that like love is a battle and you have to go through it and you have to go through those waves, you know? But I didn't really like the romance. Didn't feel like it was really there. I didn't exactly enjoy it. I kind of got bored in this book because she was with the other characters so much that she wasn't with Anders. I wanted them together so bad because they had this like enemies thing going on, but then out of nowhere they became friends, and then out of nowhere they blah 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 blah, they were romantic lovers, and I was like, how did that switch? What happened here? And I don't even think we saw like their first kiss or something. No, we didn't see them saying like I love you or something. I just felt like this book was missing a lot of aspects that go into some of the romances. I realized like while reading this that this has little bits and pieces from the 7-Year Slip and the Dead Romantics. So characters from the Dead Romantics, like the couple, is in like this last bit, like they're in the book club with her. And then on top of that, Anders went to New York and he got food from the fajita truck that is in the 7-Year Slip. That just makes me want to read those books like so bad right now. I just know that even though I didn't like this book and I didn't like the romance, just the hominess her books have and how they make me feel is just lovely. Like I know that like when I'm sitting down in my bed relaxing to go to bed, like I want to read this and I just want to get lost and enjoy and be cozy, and all of her books have that cozy and then that magic and just that romance, and I literally love it. So I believe with this one, so this one I rated as 3 stars. I was like really indecisive because I wanted to give it a good high rating, but at the same time I didn't really enjoy it and I was getting bored a lot of the time. But I loved her writing. Her writing was just so beautiful. She knows what she is writing. She knows how to embody love and to show it. So I still enjoyed this book. Was I a little bored? Yes, but I still eat up her writing every single time and I had a fun time. The next book that I finished was Daydream, and this is Hannah Grace's newest release that also came out like right after Novel Love Story. And I think I told you guys, like, I could not stop thinking about both of these books. I didn't like this one that much. I'm gonna be so honest. I'm gonna be so honest, y'all. I did not like this one as much. I was so excited. Oh, I love Henry. Henry wasn't exactly like, I wasn't obsessed with him as everyone else was, but I still really like and love his character, especially just the way he talks with Anna and how he is with Russ. I didn't enjoy the story as much. I think I was just like, I loved the beginning when they were still friends, but then they had that tension, but they drew, like, Hannah Grace drew out the friendship like a little too much for my taste. Like, I think it was still good. Like, I'm glad that they had the friends to lovers, but I feel like after a little bit, instead of thinking of them as lovers, I was thinking of them as friends. And then I wasn't very excited for them when they had like their first kiss and everything started happening. I do really enjoyed the talk about anxiety and being overwhelmed and like sounds being too much. When I'm overwhelmed and like loud sounds like really just get me and like I will cry. So I understood kind of what he went through with like he couldn't concentrate, but then also with him like doing homework, he was like, I can't concentrate because this is going on and then I can hear this outside, the fan's too loud or whatever, you know, like those little things. And I totally understood what he was coming from. But then on Hallie's side, I was also understanding like the older sister type vibe. I'm a twin, okay? If y'all don't know, I have a twin. Okay, but I'm older by 12 minutes, but just that 12 minutes, I feel like I am the older sister and Becca thinks of herself as the middle child a lot. I kind of act like the older sister, and so I know what Hallie was talking about and what she was going through. And I'm not exactly the older sister, but I knew what she was talking about. So I really liked that I could relate to these characters. This story just didn't have the spark that Wildfire and Icebreakers had, at least in my opinion. I know everyone really liked this book, but to me it was just missing that spark and I was a little sad. But I still did enjoy it and I'm so glad that I read it. I think one of my favorite, I did also annotate this one and I feel like I did really good with the colors. Anyways, let me find this one if I can. But I love that I made like the colors work. Okay, so this is what Henry said to Hallie. This might be my favorite romance book, but sorry, I completely messed that up. This might be my favorite romance book, but we're my favorite love story. Yours always, Henry. And I was just like, ah! Like the book still had those cute little bits in it and those things that were making me like all giddy and being like, aw, but it didn't have the spark that the other two had, because like those two to me in my head are 5 stars because it had that 5-star feeling, but this one just didn't have a 5-star feeling or just like a passionate feeling in general, and I was kind of sad. So this one I just gave a 3 stars. It was kind of a little sad, but no, I gave this a 3.5, I believe, because like 3 was like, to me, was too low, but I still did really enjoy this story and I'm glad that we got to see Henry. I need JJ's book. I am so serious. The next one needs to be JJ's book, okay? Because I need his or Russ's friend, I think it was Xander's, who was in Wildfire. I need his book too. Like I have people in my head that I want the next book for, but JJ needs to be one. Okay, you have no idea. I absolutely love JJ. But once again, it still had also the friends, like the friend factor and everything, and I was still really enjoying the book. And I just love this universe. I feel like a friend with them. So I still did enjoy this. I just was missing some of that little sparkness. Those 2 books, if you wanted to know, if you wanted a reading vlog on them, are I think it's like reading new releases for a week. It was like 2 weeks, okay, but I have those. But the thing is like I was reading this the entire month and then I got to North Carolina and I finished this book. This was the first one that I finished in that 24-hour readathon. I'm literally so upset, guys. During that week, I was doing a 24-hour readathon by the timer. I finished the second half of this book in the 24-hour readathon, just to let you know. But we're also going to get into the books that were in the 24-hour readathon, but you guys aren't going to see because that footage is gone. No, you know where it's at? The footage is safely on here, but it won't work because every time I plug it into my goddamn computer, it makes this like buzzing, clicking noise because the wheels aren't turning right. And so it is permanently stuck on this forever until I can either fix it or something. I literally finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books during that readathon. That is the most I've ever read in a readathon. The next book that I read, I was so excited to read, and I love Allie Hazelwood, and that is Bribe. Y'all, let me just say this, okay? This was her new release this year. I think that came around January or February. I got it. I didn't want to read it because I just like wasn't in the mood, and I got like spooky vibes from it because werewolves and vampires. Oh my god. Okay, I swear in everyone's reading vlog that everyone was saying they hated this book. It wasn't what they wanted it to be, and it was very gross and weird. I ate this up. I am so serious. This was almost a 5-star. I feel like smut scenes sometimes in romance books really just kills it for me. I feel like once you get that smut scene, there's nothing new after that. You're just in the same spot, and then there's more smut, and then same spot and more smut. Like, I want that same tension and like all of that, but I swear it goes away. I don't know if I'm just crazy or what, but I still ate this up. If y'all don't know, this is about Misery, and Misery is a vampire, and her father is a councilman for the vampires, because there's the vampire, the wares, and the humans, and they kind of all live together, but they have like different councils for it. So he was the councilman for the vampires. There's this alliance that they have with the wares, and it's not going well right now. Like, they're really treating, like, it's not very peaceful right now, and they're scared that they're gonna go into another war to uphold the alliance between the wares and the vampires. I don't know why that was so hard for me. Okay, listen. But so she is supposed to marry the alpha, and his name is Lo. Girls, as you can assume, enemies to lovers, okay? But they treated her terribly when she first got there, like she was a prisoner. And then slowly but surely she learned their trust, and this girl was so powerful. Like, she was showing off her vampire powers basically, and like all those werewolves were kind of like, okay, like chill. I loved how she gained their respect and how she treated Lo's little sister, because I feel like that was where the turning point where she gained their trust. But also, oh my god, just the way Lo talks about her, the way he protected her in his own domain. I loved the romance. The romance was so good, and on top of that, we kind of have this little mystery going on. There's all these like politics going around, like her friend goes missing, and so one of the main reasons she decides to do the marriage is because she finds like this letter, or this like little piece of paper, and it has Lo's name on it, and so she thinks that he's tied with her friend. But I ate it up from beginning to the end. Like, I had so much fun with this. Didn't like that the smut like changed the story. Like, I feel like that tension that we had in the beginning, why is the lighting going away, wasn't there in the end, and I was kind of sad. So I gave this one a 4.75 stars. Like, I don't even need to look at my phone. I still really enjoyed this book, and I was just so angry, okay? Because the reason I didn't pick this book up is because I saw everyone else's rating, and they're like, oh, like, I didn't really like it, it was kind of weird, and and I need to stop going off of everyone else's review, because my opinion is so different than everyone else's. Like, sometimes I love books that everyone loves, but I hate books that everyone loves, like Love in Other Words. I hate that book. Don't know. This book though, to me, was just so much fun, and I love Allie Hazelwood. I've only not liked Check and Mate. This book though was just so much fun. I had so much fun with it, y'all. Like, literally, I just had so much fun. The next book that we are going to talk about is Heartstoppers Volume 4. Okay, I gave this a 5 stars. I cried so much. I sat at the dinner table eating my ice cream, reading this on the very last day. Reading everything that was going on with Charlie literally broke my heart, shattered me from the inside out. I can't. I literally am on like season 2 of Heartstopper right now, but I'm so terrified to get to season 3. Like, I need to finish the next book, but I'm so scared because I'm like, I don't want to see that in real life, because like I'm gonna cry even more, and I don't think I'm ready for that. You have no idea how much Nick and Charlie mean to me. I can't get them out of my head. I swear I think about them every single day, not wanting this series to end. I swear I need to see them from now until they get married and pass away, you know? Like, they mean everything to me. But this one it does get into a lot of Charlie and his, I don't want to spoil it, but Charlie just has issues going on. Like, Nick needs to learn that he can't fix it for him, but he can be there for him, and this book just was very good. It did such a good job lighting on eating disorders and anxiety and like all those types of things, and I just had such a good time. I am terrified for them in the next book, because I think that's when Nick goes to college. I forget what their college is called. University. There we go. I can't stop thinking about them. I literally love them to pieces. The actors in real life would sign my books. I think I would pass away and like bury me in my casket, you know? 5 star. 5 star. Like 5 stars. Okay. That was a nice book. Yeah, I don't know, y'all. And then the last and final book that I read in September. Okay, listen, I was reading this book from the beginning of September. It took me so long because it's such a hefty book, but that was Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I still have no words to describe what went on in this book. No words. Okay, so the reason it took me so long is because I swear to God, the first book of this half, the first half of this book had me. I swear. Like, oh my god, I'm literally at part 2. When it said part 2, I was like, this could have been its one full book and I would have given this a 5 star. I did not like the second half. It was very anticlimactic. I feel like nothing happened and I was bored. Because everything that was happening, all the problems, all the issues with the teacher that was like literally killing her, I ate this entire part up. I had so much fun. Could not put it down, kicking my feet, sweating. Like, I loved it. The second part, didn't like as much, but I think it really set us up for the third book. Don't even talk to me about the last page of this book. I do not know what to think. You're kidding me, right? No. Because I knew something bad was gonna happen, and I don't want to say I was right, but I had an inkling something like that was gonna happen, and it did. And I hate when I'm right. So I love this book, and honestly I loved it a lot more than Fourth Wing. Well, no, I still really liked Fourth Wing, but I feel like, I don't know if I liked how the part 2 was like set up. I don't know if I like how those events occurred, because when they were happening I was kind of like, oh, like, I don't know, I thought they would go along differently, but I still freaking enjoyed this book. And y'all are freaking pissing me off. Okay, I don't know if you've read this, but I swear to God, everyone was saying they were annoyed that Violet and Xaden were fighting. Okay, listen, there's a lot of trust issues there from the first book, okay? If they didn't get through them, there is no reason I would be rooting for them, okay? If they still had the same problems, if they did not talk about it and all they did was have sex, I would not be happy. I would not want them together. No, no, no. I am so happy they worked through their problems, they communicated, and they're still doing what they can. Like, they are in such a better place, even with everything that happened, like the last 3 pages, because I swear the first book was like very physical, but this one they got the emotional down, and they talked to each other, and the fighting was needed, and I'm glad that it happened. Was it a little repetitive? Yes. It brought new things to light. It showed what Violet needed and what Xaden needed and what he couldn't do, and it made sense to me. Literally the last page I was like, what? I'm gonna go with my grandma to go pick the third book up. Anyways, this one I gave a 4 stars. I think I gave it like a 4.25, 4.5, something like that. I ate this up. Literally ate it up. I was so happy about it. Like, ugh! It was good. It was so good, y'all. I cannot. This is the next book that we finished in September, and without further ado, that is the end of my September wrap up. I would say in all, I really enjoyed these books. I had a fun time, and we really got into my fantasy, and y'all, I am in a huge fantasy mood right now. Like, you have no idea how many fantasy books I want to read. Like, I'm so excited. I'm so glad, because honestly too, with Iron Flame, like, I needed to read it. Needed to give it a chance. I needed to make my own opinion, and I need to do that with books, because Iron Flame and Bride were 2 books that I thought I was not gonna like, and I loved both of them. I think that's saying that I need to read the book first before looking at everyone else's opinion for my own, you know? Let's take that, okay? Let's take that into consideration, lovelies. Okay, so that is September. We're gonna get into October. It wasn't the best month. I'm gonna be so honest, y'all. It was not the best month. I made my own TBR, did not stick to it. I think I've read 1 book and then I finished the next one the next month. But I did discover a new series that I'm absolutely eating up. I also didn't read any books this month. Okay, so we read 4 books. Not happy. It was very hard. Like, the main reason I wasn't reading in September was simply because of school. School takes up so much time, y'all. And when you're a booktuber and you have to edit and film a video, but also you have to read a 300-page book that would usually take me a week, but it's actually taking me 2 weeks because I had to do homework and studying and notes, is literally so much. Okay, let me just say that. And I hate when like the first few months of getting back into school, realizing that shit, I'm gonna have to like go back on videos and it makes me sad, you know, but it also meant that I couldn't read as much. But I still read 4 books. I did enjoy them. Let's get into it so far. So I read 2 fantasies, 1 thriller, a romance. Let's get into them. Okay, so the first book that I read was The Lost by Natasha Preston. I hated the ending because it just opened something up for like an entire second book, but also it was so confusing why that happened. Like, I'm reading the last book, okay, like I'm just reading this and I'm getting through the last page and I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Like, it doesn't make sense why it ended the way it did. And honestly, I went to Goodreads, I looked at everyone else's opinion because I felt the same way with The Seller. I feel like her endings are ass. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I don't like her endings. They just don't make sense. Or they're not happily ever afters. I don't like them. Like, I don't want like a whole, you know, Disney movie, but, you know, something a little better than this. If you don't know, The Lost is about, in their town, Piper's town, there have been a bunch of teenagers that have been disappearing and they've all been runaways, but it's so many people that you're kind of like, this isn't making sense. Like, there's no way all of these are runaways. So Piper and her friend Hazel start to investigate and they go to a party to kind of figure it out. These 2 guys like say that they're gonna, you know, take them home, you know, hang out. They kidnap them and they put them in this room. This room gives not major, but like Saw vibes. I think it's called like that puzzle movie. That's what it gave me. But basically they're kidnapped. They're forced into this room with a bunch of other people. Those people are the kids that were kidnapped and that have been missing. And all of them, she's been like, you were kidnapped last month, you were a couple months ago. And there's some that have been there for 5 months, some have only been there for a whole month or something. So the kids, the teenagers, basically try to tell them that there have been other kids there, but they haven't made it because every single day those boys make them go into a new room and they get tortured. And they basically see how they can break them emotionally and physically. That's how it is. There's this one room, I think it's like room 5 or something, where you're literally forced to like kill each other to escape. And if you don't, they'll like starve you until you're so insane that you need to. It's terrible. It's awful. My anxiety was high and yet I was eating this up. I love Natasha Preston's books because the feelings that she brings from you are so incredibly strong, but also her endings just aren't it for me. And I'm so mad about this one character because like, what happens to him is so upsetting. Piper and Theo, let me just say that. Okay, have my heart. Literally heartbroken. That's all I can say. I still really enjoyed this book and I really liked it, but the ending, I'm like, what is going to happen? Like, I kind of need a second book, and it gave like Bonnie and Clyde vibes, and I was like, this is not the vibes we had going on. I know 100% that I'm definitely going to read another Natasha Preston book because this is my second one by her and I love them. They're very easy, very quick to get through, and she hooks you in. They're very addictive. So for this book, I gave it 4 stars. I still really enjoyed it. I was just kind of like, what? So I'm glad that I read it and that I can say that I finished another one. I definitely want to try. I had The Island on my Kindle, but I didn't really read it. Like, I got like a couple pages in it and then I forgot about it. So maybe one day I'll get it back or something. But I still really enjoyed reading this one. The next book that we read was Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. I cannot tell you how obsessed I was with this. The tension, the story, the setting, everything that was happening, the mystery was so good. Everything about this book had me, oh my god. Literally, I loved this. I could not stop thinking about it. And I was so mad that I had DNF'd this. I had DNF'd this when in my senior year, but I could not stop thinking about this book. It is so good. Thought that the fantasy at the end was a lot confusing because a lot of things were uncovered in the last 50 pages, and in the second book we didn't even touch them. So they were kind of just like thrown in there, and I'm like, you could have like said this in the next book, you know, it could have been another time you said it. Sometimes her wording is very confusing, and like her plot points, that's the one thing that's kind of throwing me off, but I still really enjoyed this, and the fantasy and the romance were just so good. And I love like this was 19th century Sicily, and then you had like the demons and stuff, so it's just like a wonderful, like a perfect time period, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I also love books with twins in it. Like I'm a twin myself, okay? And I like the representation. So I had a really good time reading this. This is a 5-star. I was in the middle of a 4.75 or a 5-star, but this is so good. Literally could not stop thinking about it, and I ran to start the next one. I loved it. And y'all, it's just good. It's good. Like seriously, it was so good, and I can't wait to read. I think it's Throne of the Fallen or something. The next book that I finished is the next book in the series, which is Kingdom of the Feared by Carrie Maniscalco. I did not like this one as much. I gave this a 4-star, but the reason is because you had questions from the first book, but then you had even more questions from the second book, and now I'm just lost. And I felt like nothing happened in this book, and we weren't moving anywhere, especially with the mystery and stuff. The romance moved a shit ton, and I'm not upset about that at all. We got so much more tension, and I was like eating it up, giggling, screaming. The shockingness, I was so sad that I was spoiled about, but it was still very shocking, and I was like screaming, and I was like, this is just so hot. I loved it. I loved all the new characters as well, and how we got to meet more of his brothers. But I do just think the fantasy needed to be fixed up, like needed to be cleaned up, because it just wasn't doing it for me. But yeah, I enjoyed it. So those two were in the reading witchy books for a week, and then I also have this last witchy book. The problem with all these witchy books is that I liked the vibes, but they also didn't give me those Halloween vibes, and I really wish I read more of my thrillers this month, and I didn't. That's my only thing about like October. The next book that I read was The X-Hex by Erin Sterling, and I didn't like this one as much. I was so upset. I was loving the first half of this book when I started it, but then I just got bored, and I was just like, okay, Reese just talking about her body. Oh, Vivi doing the same thing. Like, all they have is a connection physically, and I don't see anything emotionally. I was just bored and kind of annoyed because they were like, oh, I love her, but I'm not gonna say anything. And it's just like the very cliche type things. I did like the Halloween bits of it because their town is very Halloweeny because you have the witches. They're just kind of like Salem, basically. But with like the ley lines and all the witches. Problem with the hex that Vivi put on Reese didn't really make sense because it didn't hurt him, it hurt everyone around him. But I did enjoy it because they had like hauntings, like ghosts, and then they had like haunted skulls, and a bunch of little things like that were happening. But I also just felt very bored, and I wish there was more Halloween bits to it, maybe more setting. Overall, I just wasn't obsessed with their romance, and I just didn't really care for them. This was a very chill sit back, but I will never think about this book again, is what I'm saying. So I gave this one a 3 stars. I was a little sad because I was so excited about reading the X-Hex finally, but it just didn't do it for me for Halloween and everything. And that's why I'm a little sad, but I'm really hoping that like next Halloween, I'll mix it up and I will have some spooky books going on. Because like the romance just didn't do it for me. And it made me sad though. But I'm happy that I finally read it. Those were the 4 books that I read in October. Overall, enjoyed what I read, but I wasn't obsessed other than like these 2 books. But I still had like a good month, and I'm glad that I got a good bit of reading done, even though I was in school, because school takes a lot of time out of just being able to read. So I'm very glad that I was able to read these and just get them out of the way, you know? So yeah, I just had a good reading month. That is the end of this video. In all, in October, we read 9 books, and I am not upset at all. So many different types of books here. You got some thrillers, you got some fantasy, and some romance. In summertime, all I was doing was reading romances, and I think I was getting bored with romance. Like, romance doesn't give me the same feelings fantasy does when I read books. So I think I was missing that type of feeling. Being able to read the fantasies, I feel, made me more addicted to reading than I was before, and I'm just so glad that I'm back in a fantasy jump because I was missing that this entire year, and I'm so glad. So I'm gonna really try to read all of my fantasies these last few months. Sorry, I'm tired. That is all for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a wonderful time just looking back at all of these books. So weird doing a wrap up like for 2 months because I look at this book and then I'm like, oh my god, I read that. Like, it was so long ago to me, like in my head. But I'm so glad that I read them, and I just had a good time, and I just fell back in love with reading, with what I was reading. So I cannot wait for November. It is going to be such a good month. I'm already loving the book that I'm reading, and I'm so incredibly excited. Thank you guys for watching this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Please go to like and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so every time I post and you don't miss an upload from me. I love you guys, and I will see you guys in my next video. Mwah.